Hello and welcome. My name's Leanne. I live in Australia and this is my crafty cupboard. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I'm participating in Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, Volume 3, Down the Garden Path. And our prompt this time is a shed or a greenhouse. I don't have a greenhouse. I would love to have a greenhouse, and so I'm just going to create one from my imagination rather than going and having a look at my real garden for inspiration. I've just pulled out a heap of supplies. It's been a little while since I last posted. I'm finding it very time consuming if I stop and start my sewing in the interest of speeding things up for you, the viewers. It's time consuming to edit all of that footage together and then, render it out as one video and upload. So I've noticed a lot of others just stitch the process in one go, video the process in one go, and so that's what I'm going to do today. So now, of course, I've got a visitor, a hungry pussycat. What are you doing? You're going to make me stop the video and have to edit it together, aren't you? All right, well, we can't argue with hungry kitty cats. While we're speaking of cheeky, it reminded me of Christine from Create and Craft with Christine was mentioning Mr. Whippy, and made me smile. Makes me think of Cheeky every time I hear Mr. Whippy ice cream trucks driving around. I can only assume Cheeky had a near-death experience with a Mr. Whippy truck, because we have a cat flap in our floor-to-ceiling window for him to be able to come through whenever he likes, to exit and enter as he pleases. And of course he never uses it, not ever. He always hops up on windowsills and meows or knocks at the front door for us to let him in. He loves his little butlers. So the only time we ever see Cheeky use the cat flap, we know Mr. Whippy's coming, because he comes flying through the cat flap at a flat-out pace, runs as fast as he can up the stairs, goes into my son's room and flattens himself right underneath his bed. Now, my son's bed's the only one in the house that's an ensemble, so like the two mattresses sort of put together, so there's a very, very narrow space underneath, and Cheeky will always flatten himself underneath and hide up there until the danger of Mr. Whippy has gone. Very funny boy. All right, I'm going to feed him. I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. So where I left off last time was I had this piece of background fabric, and I said I wouldn't stitch it down in case it doesn't work for the next prompt. And that's true. It doesn't work for me for this prompt. So I'm going to cut it off. So what I was thinking with this is trying very carefully to not cut my background fabric. Glass houses are glass, obviously, and then a sort of metal structure. So I have this fabulous braid, and I thought that would work really well to be the frame of my glass house, like so. And I thought, how nice for this sheer fabric to act as the glass. And then beneath I'll have, the plants or flowers, this scrap of hessian, which I'm going to use to make the pots. I also have this sweet little lacy piece, and I thought that might work as a doll. Now, of course, it should be nice and green inside the greenhouse, so I'm going to use this green fabric for backing. and I'd like sort of some blue for the sky. So I have ready my jar of offcuts of shibori to sort of pick one to use for the sky background. Okay, so where shall we start? Let's start with making the backing of the greenhouse. This morning before I went to work, I sat down and pulled out all the supplies I'd want to use and just left them on my table so that when I came home, I could just get into it. If they're all sitting there looking at me when I walk in the door, they demand my attention. And I don't get distracted by boring things like washing up. It's been so lovely taking part in this project and sharing ideas with everyone on YouTube, seeing what others make. It's a really amazing thing, you know. You enjoy the process of creating, but how much do we admire other people's work? You know, getting to see other people's work is just absolutely fascinating. Stimulates so many ideas and challenges us to try different things. Really loving it. Okay, so that's that. Now, what sort of a sky? We don't want too blue. Although the purple wisteria is quite intense. Anyway, let's see. I think to me, yeah, that's just too much. That's too blue. That's the right sort of tones, but it's a bit small. Let's keep rummaging. Goodness, I make such a mess when I'm doing this. It's lots of fun. I quite like that offcut. If I can get another one similar. A bit dark. Too small. Way too small. Oh, this is looking promising. Perfect. That will work, the lighter patch. All right, let's cut those to size. Not worrying about being too pedantic. First of all, I'll just cut the edge straight. Ish. Straight-ish is good enough. Wonder what our next prompts will be. That's interesting how it's sort of darker and lighter. Maybe I could use that one piece. I think I shall. Why not? Or do I like the sort of look of this, like a cloudy sky? Oh dear, look what I did when I cut the excess. I've accidentally cut the edge of the leaf very straight. Never mind. Trim off those frayed bits. got here? That? No, it's not cloudy enough. Like that. Yes. I'm going to run with that. So don't need this, that can cut off. And I will trim that sort of straight later. Or can it tuck under? She can trim a corner off now, and that can tuck under and be stitched down. Okay, that's that. Simply fold that over as I'm stitching it down. And what other piece was I using? This one. So we'll go with that, like that. Okay, ta-da! Oops, that's a bit much. Well, that's certainly going to stick and not go anywhere until I stitch it. And I might give the edges a little love of the glue, so they're all ready for stitching. Okay, good girl, pack up the blue things out of the way. It's not fun to have a big mess to clean up at the end, is it? Try and pack it as I go. All right, so then that's that. Gonna have to put just a few dobs here and there to keep this in place till I get around to stitching it down. Okay. So now thinking about the glass house and how many shelves can I have in the glass house. The door's there. Okay, so I'm thinking along the lines of, you know, this is the pot. And then, you know, I've got this beautiful trim that I thought I could just use as flowers. So that's certainly one works there. So if that's that high, we could have two, maybe three, but for now I think two, and if there's room for a third I'll put it. Okay, so I'm sort of thinking just shelves about that high, I mean pots. And these will be under the organza fabric, so that it will have the glass house feel. Okay, so I'm going to remove that for now. Keep this sort of here as a marker, so I know how wide my pots can be. Right, so this pot is to get trimmed down, and it's not very even. Let's even it up. Great. Let's get some thread and stitch it down. Now I'm just using a bottom line thread here because it's sitting in my pin cushion, and so it will do the job. Everybody's favourite part of the show, trying to thread a needle. Alright, so I'm going to start at this edge and just stitch that down. Just going to use a scrap of fabric here because the glue I put on too thickly has gone through, just to stop sticking to the table. Do. I'm starting in a little bit because if I start right on the edge it could fray it. Just stitching right through the centre for now. If I think it needs other rows of stitching, I'll add them. I think actually I'll just do a bit of back stitch because that's a bit firmer. So called back stitch because we come up a little bit ahead and then we go back, up a little bit ahead and back. This little piece of hessian actually came in a sort of op shop slow stitching kit. Some things had been bundled together, and I purchased the bundle purely because I wanted a little bit of hessian, and the hessian wasn't even in there as a fabric, it was in there for holding the needle. They'd put a sewing needle in. Okay, now we're losing the bit here, so I'm just going to stitch over to hold these pieces together. I'm losing that bottom piece as well, so I'm going to come off the bottom of the piece and stitch to put that together. Might need to just do that a few more times. Come off the bottom of the piece, stitch over the edges there to hold it all together so it doesn't fray apart. It's happening up here too, so I'll go all the way along. All right, now for the flowers along the bottom. So I won't know how high to do the other pieces unless I know. I do these ones along here. Okay, so first I'm going to stitch the flower part down. That's got it. And then I'll catch in the little pearly bits. Nice. You can hear the rainbow lorikeets enjoying their afternoon snack in the grevillea. They love that blossom. Okay, to finish off I'll just do a few more stitches here just to hold everything very secure before I trim the trim. This is one of those pieces that I've had forever, picked up somewhere just because I thought that's very pretty. It's nice to be able to use it. Okay, let's knot that off. As usual, right at the end I've come unthreaded. Just use my fingers. There we go. That's excess to the pot. Also all excess comes. Okay, next pot. So again, I'm going to cut it a bit shorter. Yeah, I think if I go here, then I can do a third one there, right? There's some other things in it. Like that. Okay, away we go. Thread up the needle. It's looking a bit dark on screen. Hopefully it shows up okay. It's very cloudy. I have the overhead light turned on, but being a dining room, it's not the brightest of lights. Where's all your favourite spaces to sit and stitch? Do you have a favourite spot, or do you move to different locations? Actually thinking after last experience, what might be a good idea is a little blanket stitch. That will definitely hold the edges in as I'm stitching. My thread has doubled itself up. If I can pull it through, I will. Otherwise, I'll just carry on with it double. Very secure. Okay, double it is. Try and hold that straightish. I opened up my Pinterest, which I have not used in many years, because I know that I'd pinned beautiful sheds, she sheds, in my garden section on Pinterest. And when I opened it, I was hit with two emotions. I was amazed at the exquisite beauty of all the pictures I'd collected. But then also I realised why I stopped using Pinterest, and that is the incredible sense of dissatisfaction I felt towards my reality, my real garden. And of course that's something I have no right feeling. I'm very, very blessed with what I have. And I think over the years I've learnt to appreciate more and more the things that I have and be incredibly grateful for them, and to stop comparing to what could be or what I'd like or what I'd want, and just accepting the reality of how lucky I am to have been able to have a career and purchase the home that I have. And so I actually very promptly left Pinterest again and decided to not look. It's turning out to be a very rustic planter. Because the disadvantage of using double thread is now I have to thread up my needle again already because it's out. Yes, so that was much more effective to blanket stitch down the hessian to sort of help it hold together. Okay, now I have these, but they're very sweet, but I've only 3. I'm sort of trying to go for the same on each side. So I might have to use those for something else. I have also this trim. So I thought that would look sweet. And I have also, I stitched a little Suffolk puff. And because I've got these super cute tiny buttons. So that would make sweet flowers. So of course the scale's crazy. I've been playing with perspective all through this piece anyway. It's a bit like an Alice in Wonderland wander through the garden path. Everything's changing sizes. Oh, now that's an interesting thing to have noticed, a bit too late, is probably would have been better to stitch the flowers up higher. Can't see them so well. Unless I bring the greenhouse down over the edge like that. I guess because of my trim that can work, but then I'm just worried I didn't leave much blue to have much wriggle room there. Could always cut a new piece of this later and not worry so much about making this exact piece fit. That's what I might do, cut a new piece later. Anyway, so what I'm doing is working out now scale, perspective. Where do we want the big flowers? Where do we want the little ones? I think I can only fit 2 of those in. So I'll put the bigger ones up. Maybe just 1 and some leaves. Stitch a few leaves. And that can be sweet. There's my door. No, I feel like I want to. Are these guys too small? Can't make decisions. What else have I got in my little jar of doodads? Ooh. Ooh. These are sweet. Three of those. Maybe I could use the, because they're looking a bit big, maybe I could use them somewhere else. Three of these. Yeah. I like that. Pop you guys away. So it'll sort of be like that. Don't know how I'm feeling like with the organza over it at the moment, because it sort of hides the cuteness. But then does it make any sense without glass on the glass house? Does that make sense as a glass house? Or do we just stitch that down and put all these on top? So it's like these are little planters on the outside of my greenhouse or shed. Little planter boxes on the outside of it, and inside's just that vague sort of greenery that we can't really see. Maybe the door can be this. Decisions. I don't know. Thing is, I've already stitched these down. Right. Stick with the plan of stitching these down. And then I can worry about the dilemma of the planters later. And of the glass idea. I'm going to put the little yo-yo aside and thread up the needle again. Gee, time flies quickly when you're doing this. And if I've been here 30 minutes and I've got down 2 things, 2 things stitched down. It's that indecision that gets you, isn't it? Trying to make choices. Okay, so away we go. Turn around this way and blanket stitch. So just taking a straight stitch to the top and catching it so it sits over the thread at the back. So hang on to the thread, straight stitch, It's really interesting doing these sorts of pieces because they're not properly planned out, so therefore they really do just take on a life of their own, you know. It's like your children, you know. You plan for your life with them, but of course there's other factors that come along that make them very unique. Very different. Alright, so what did I decide I was going to do? Pink, purple, pink. Let's go that way. Stitch this little one down. Oops, come through to the other side and just stitching these ones down like a button essentially. just coming up, going through as if it had holes in it. And down. Come up for the next one. Find the next one. Let's come through his edge. Sort of feel like 3 stitches will hold it nice and secure. I feel like this part of it needs to be secured down. So I'm going to catch it here. This time, oops, not right through the leaf. Underneath would be better. That's better. Gosh, I really don't. Oh, this part of the flower is very tough. Pull. All right, that's those little guys stitched down. Okay, so then, which ones am I going to use? These little purple ones. Recurring theme here today, thread up the needle. My battery's going low, that might dictate when the video ends today. Gosh, that would be suspenseful, wouldn't it? If I don't get to get very much more done, and then you'd be wondering, how did it end up? Welcome back. I've got battery again. So this has been 3 hours of stitching tonight. So I finished putting down the flower pots and the little flowers, laid a piece of organza over the whole top, stitched down this braid to form the frames of the greenhouse. Just a bit of stitching, vertical stitching to hold down the sky. I found this oversized bee button and thought, perfect, that'll bring in some gold, because I've tried to have sort of some yellowy gold in each part of the garden so far. Just trying to keep the colours consistent throughout the piece, even though the path isn't and the scale isn't. I just wanted to give some continuity with colour, because my backing piece is so thin. It certainly went quite wonky stitching the little greenhouse, but that's okay. Little door. So now I'm just going to stitch down these three as a decorative element around the little window in the roof space. So this one's got little gaps in between. Too close, isn't it? A bit blurry there. So I'm just going to stitch in those gaps. To hold the piece down. I wonder, do I want to hold these down too? Or just leave them free? I think I might leave them free for the moment. I think with this little greenhouse I've used my entire stash of little ribbon roses and flower appliques. I'm not so sure about the look of these behind the organza, because I really liked looking at them without the organza over the top, but I was sort of trying to go for that, you know, hazy greenhouse feel where everything's behind glass or plastic. So even though I'm not sure, I'm just going to leave it as I've made it. I find it quite ironic that I was determined to just film in one go this afternoon, and everything conspired against me. The cat, the battery. Anyway. I didn't want to stop stitching when I had no battery because I was in the flow. That strategy of laying everything out in the morning, so when I came home it was there to see and get sit down, get straight into sewing helped. Alright, I think we might call the greenhouse done. Wonder what our next prompt will be. I'm excited. Wonder if there'll be a place somewhere in my garden to use the tiny, tiny little yo-yo flower or Suffolk puff flower. I think that'd be really sweet if I had a bed of them, all at different heights. I might make a few anyway just for fun, because if I don't use them on this piece, I could just use them on one of my slow stitch pages. Alright, so there we have the greenhouse and its rows of roses done. Walking back through passion fruit vine over the veggie garden next to the beehive, leads to the topiary and the wisteria growing over the gate. Oh, that reminds me, I did add a little surprise behind the gate. And then leaving the home garden and walking out in the bush and experiencing our native wildflowers. So thanks for walking along the garden path with me, everyone. Looking forward to keep catching up on how everyone else did their greenhouses, admiring all the beautiful work out there, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.